Hey folks, my name is David here on the Ablestate Live channel once again. In today's video, we shall look at the artifacts in the Scrum framework. In order for Scrum teams to realize the effectiveness, they rely on three artifacts. These artifacts are the go-to for checking what has to be done, what is being done, and what is done. They help the team inspect progress and adopt solutions where necessary. And these documents are the product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increment. Product backlog. The product backlog is an area, it actually resides on the Scrum board as the starting point. It's an area where features which are written in form of user stories, their corresponding definition of ready, the corresponding definition of done, and test criteria are found. On the product backlog, you can find things like the user story number, you can find things like the estimation and the story points. Each item on the product backlog or each user story on the product backlog must cover at least three areas, which are who, what, and value. For example, as a user, I want to log in so that I can see my profile. So this statement covers three areas. Who, the user. I want to log in, the what, so that I can see my profile as the goal. This artifact is managed by a product owner. So that means that who decides what appears on the product backlog is the product owner. However, the Scrum Master and the team must refer to the product backlog to ensure transparency. The items on this document are arranged in order of priority so that they can easily be identified and be picked out to be placed in the sprint backlog. The product backlog can adopt changes depending on the outcomes of sprints. That means that in sprints, the user stories which are completed are marked on the product backlog as completed, and those that have not been completed in the sprint, during the review sprint meeting, the product owner can decide to place them back on the product backlog. The sprint backlog. This is the second official document of the Scrum framework. It is created during the sprint planning event or meeting in the presence of the product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. Though it's not a must, other stakeholders can be present in the sprint planning. The items that are put in the sprint planning must be next in the queue in terms of order of priority on the product backlog. It's good for these features to have a definition of ready defined in order for the team to be guided when they are placing them on the sprint backlog. Scrum encourages the artifacts must promote transparency, so all members of the team must be aware of which items are about to be added, their requirements, the definition of ready, and definition of done. A sprint backlog can be broken into sections depending on the workflow you choose, because different teams define their own workflows. For example, it can have a section of to-do, where the user stories that have been picked from the product backlog reside, the section of doing or progress, the section of verification, sometimes the section of test, and finally the section of done. A product increment is the third artifact of the Scrum framework. Whenever items are completed during a sprint, they are checked against the definition of done, and if they meet the definition of done, they are added to the product increment. Those that don't meet can be blocked out or can be returned to the product backlog. It is the responsibility and the choice of the product owner to release the product increment, since the goal of a sprint is to release a working version of the product. Let's stop there for today. We meet again in the video about Scrum events. Do you find our content helpful and you haven't subscribed to our channel yet? Please subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be notified whenever we publish new content. Thank you.